morning, Learning Gate students. This is Mr. Jim with another adventure from the field. We're exploring the mangroves today, and we're going to be looking at the different types of mangroves and also some of the oyster bars and some of the animals you might find in the mangroves. So let's check this one out right here. Could be some sharks. That's another option. Sharks. Let's see. Not sure what's going on. Let's check it out. What do you guys think it is? I think it's a ray. Yep, a couple of rays. Season for the rays. What in the world? Yep, it's these long tails. They look like cow-nosed rays. See that? See the blunt nose on these guys? Definitely cow-nosed rays. Go. They're starting to sprout what are called the propagules. If you look right here, you can see the seeds. It's kind of unusual. They actually sprout and start to grow while still attached to the tree. And then when they get really long, they look like a green dart. Then they'll fall down into the water. So it's pretty neat. And they float. So it's a great adaptation for a plant that lives along the... Yep, they're called propagules, and you'll see the green bit coming out. The ones you just went by here are pretty long. Yeah, they're getting there. So here we have one of the three types of mangroves. Actually, there's four, but this is one of the more common ones. This is called the white mangrove, and you can see it right here. They've got really round leaves, and they have a little dimple at the top. Okay, this is the mangrove tree that you find closest or highest ground, furthest away from the water. Let's switch it around and see what you can see here. As you can see here, the white mangroves are a brighter, lighter green, and see how round these leaves are? And the other thing that's really cool, if you look really close at the bottom of the leaf, see this right here? There's a little bump right there. That's another way you can tell the white mangrove tree, and that is believed where the salt comes out of the plant, because plants can't grow, not too many plants can grow right in the salt water. It's very, very difficult for them to do that. So these trees have to come up with strategies, ways to survive the salt water getting into them, and then they have to get rid of that salt or else it will kill them. So let's take a look at two of the other mangroves that you'll see a little closer to the water. Now here at this City of Largo Park, they have a kayak launch here. I was here yesterday, so I got some footage to share with you. Also, these are the white mangroves here. See how we're on the edge. You can see the high tides make it up here, but not too often. So this is a higher, drier area. So here you've got your white mangroves. Remember, they're light green, and they're rounded and with the little dimple on the top. Now let's see what we've got down here. I see sign of an animal. Let's see. Thinking the fourth graders might recognize the footprints, these tracks. You guys recognize the tracks there? Looks like you've got signs of raccoons. All right, so here we go. We're moving closer to the water. Now, another animal you find in the mangrove forest is the fiddler crab. It's a very important animal, just like the earthworm in the upland forest. It aerates the soil. Here you could see his burrow, and they dig down under the soil. There's his burrow, and they help aerate the soil. All right, here's the second mangrove that you find as you get closer to the water. This one is the most salt tolerant of all the mangrove trees. This is called the black mangrove. See right here, their leaves are a little bit different. They're more oval, a little longer, and they're not quite as bright green. But the other thing that you'll notice about these that's kind of wild is if you look at the back of it, see how gray it is right there? Now that's how they get rid of their salt. Instead of having little glands at the base of the leaf, they actually push out the salt all along the back of the leaf. And the way you can tell, is this a black mangrove, is just like this. Yuck. Lots of salt. Yeah, if you need some salt, go see a black mangrove tree. But this is one way you can tell that you've got a black mangrove tree. Also, the other thing to look for are the roots. So I pointed those out a little bit ago. Let's take a closer look at the roots. Now here we have a mixture of the roots. Now the part of the roots I wanted you to see for the black mangrove are these right here. These little things sticking up. They look like just a stick coming up, but actually these are part of the roots of the black mangrove tree. These are called pneumatophores, or snorkel tubes is another way to think about them. The more graphic way to remember them, another name is, I've heard them called dead man's fingers. Dead man's fingers sticking up from underground. I don't know about that, but anyway, it's just a fun thing to think about. But when the high tide comes in, it allows the plant to get oxygen down into the roots. Okay. Now the reason the black mangroves have to be most resistant to salt is because when the tides come up here, the black mangroves are a little further away from the water, and the water actually evaporates, the fresh water, and then it concentrates the salt. So it concentrates the salt so that the salt in the water that's right at the base of these trees, it's very, very salty, very high salt content. So it's very difficult for these trees to survive. So that's why they have the salt glands in the back of their leaves that I just licked. Also, you know, that's another strategy that they have for getting rid of the salt. So let's take a look at the mangrove that's closest to the water. It's the one most people are familiar with. It's called the red mangrove, and they have very distinctive arching red prop roots. So let's see if you can spot them here in the next few minutes. All right, so we're gonna walk down to, this is where you put in your kayak. So I was here yesterday, but didn't have time to do any filming. So I came back to get some more footage. So see if you can pick out the red mangrove arching prop roots. If you look right here off to the left, you'll see some. Look at that. And as you look up ahead, you can see these are the arching red prop roots off to both sides here, actually. And that's one reason why they're called the walking tree, because it looks like they are walking across the water. Pretty cool. The other thing you'll notice, lots of fish in here, but you notice that all the yellow leaves on the red mangroves. Let's look. Lots of yellow leaves. And they have bigger leaves, they're darker green, they're glossy, very shiny. That's distinctive of the red mangrove leaves. Now the red mangrove has a way of getting rid of its salt. That's by sacrificing leaves right here. So as the salt comes in, they push the salt into these leaves, and the leaves fall down. You might think, oh, okay, well, leaves fall all the time in the forest, any kind of forest. But in the estuary, in the mangrove forest, this is really critically important to the animals that live here. So that the nursery ground for fish, shrimp, crabs is the mangrove forest. Combining that salt water with fresh water into what we call an estuary is actually producing a lot of life. Let's see, here's some more sacrificial leaves. Look at that. They've even been chewed on by things before they even fall down to the ground. We're gonna go underwater now. Let's see what it looks like, a fish's eye view. Speak of fish, fish's eye view of the mangroves and what's underneath the mangroves. Let's check that out. Now you can see behind me, you can see the red mangroves down there with their arching prop roots. Now the other reason why mangroves are so important is because they are protection from storms. Those red prop roots are really good at breaking up waves and breaking up the wind. So if you have a house near the water, you want to have some red mangroves between the water and your house, because if you don't, then those waves are going to come right in and hit your house and the waves and all that. So mangroves are really, really good at protecting us from storms. So it's another reason why we want to protect the mangroves, other than they provide a good habitat for lots of cool animals, and you know, just a really beautiful place to go kayaking. So that's it for Mr. Jim in this installment of the Adventures from the Field. Have a great week. Now it's time for you guys to figure out if you can remember which leaf goes to which tree. So now it's time for a little mangrove tree quiz.